Hey everybody, welcome to the Super Mega Ultra podcast, episode 10. After our about 3 month hiatus, we're kind of back and doing the things we've been doing. Hopefully we'll be able to put out more podcasts per week than we used to. Try to shape up things differently. I think with episode 9 we try to do a 3-man podcast, and that worked well, but with scheduling difficulties and with topical difficulties, it really became kind of a pain to try to get everyone in here at the same time. And I think that was part of why, between that and having a day job has kind of become really difficult with trying to schedule a podcast. So if I can get, I'll try to get a 3-man podcast, but sometimes it'll be just 2 men. Sometimes it'll even just be 1 man. So, but I'm going to try to, keep it going, have it weekly, regardless of who's here. And we'll just talk about, everything in the nerd, pop culture and nerd culture thing. We'll talk about video games. We'll talk about comic books. We'll talk about movies, all that stuff, So thanks for, sticking in there and listening. And here's the podcast. This week, me and Bill, chat about all kinds of crazy stuff. I think we really kind of try to touch on every single thing that we missed out on. Comic-Con, E3. We talk about the Batman trailers. We talk about the video games that have been going on. Talk about our favorite movies this year for the summer. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Stay tuned for some more stuff. If you get a chance, go over to our YouTube channel, watch some of our Let's Play videos. Me and Bill just recorded one that was really good for the Order 1886. He hates that game, and I think it's okay. I try to hang in there with it, but we really ended up just laughing and joking about every single thing about that game. So it's fun. It was fun to play. So thanks again. Enjoy. Oh, cool, that works. Awesome. How's your summer been going so far?
It's been fine. It's been kind of I don't want to say it's a slow gaming release season, but I've been more just mainly looking forward towards what's coming out later on. Here soon, actually.
It's not like some of those other years where they released Rockstar would release a really good summer game, and then that would kind of keep you going for an entire summer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it wasn't just Rockstar that would release them. It would also be because when I think of really great summer games, I would think of Red Dead Redemption, mm-hmm. Alan Wake. Mm-hmm. I really liked L.A. Noire, even though I only played it maybe the first month or 2, but that was still a good summer game.
Yeah.
What else? Max Payne. Max Payne was another one.
Yeah, that was. God damn, man.
Someone was putting a picture of that recently, or a clip of it. It was a Watch Mojo episode, and they put Max Payne on there for something. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was really cool. Just remembering that one. And it wasn't written the same way that Sam Lake does it, but it was still.
Oh, dude.
It was still intense and good.
Oh yeah, It was the first game that I played through, and I immediately just played through it again, immediately. There was no I'm gonna wait a couple weeks and replay it. I replayed it probably 5 or 6 times in 2 weeks. It was crazy.
I think for me, what qualifies for a real I think this qualifies for both movies and games, but if there is a really good soundtrack to it that just sticks in my mind, even if it just is one particular song in it, then it's amazing. Yeah. And I think it was the end of Max Payne had that really cool music that they were playing.
In the airport.
Yeah, and it just sticks with me. If I think of Max Payne 3, suddenly that music comes on. It's a theme music for it.
God
damn. It's the same way with those 2 movies I was telling you about, Ex Machina, mm-hmm. and It Follows. Mm-hmm. It Follows has a really good. Did you hear that?
No.
Just out of nowhere, there's this random music just came on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, for a minute I thought it was like my ginger ale.
No,
mix over here.
I guess it was part of the browser, but just suddenly, just this like jazz music came on for a second, or like this. I don't know. It was weird.
Awesome.
But you know, the two movies that I've just watched recently, Ex Machina and It Follows. I can't not talk about those to people. Just how like they're really good in ways where it's like if I'd watched them like in like at a movie theater, I probably wouldn't have said they were like that good, because I feel like their endings are very weird and bleak, but they're still cool in their ways. But they're just really good movies, and it makes you think a lot about both of them, you know, for different ways. And with It Follows, it has this very 90s tone to it, but in some ways it tries to give you this idea that it's not in the night. It tries to not set itself in any particular like era, and that's kind of weird but kind of cool in the same way. Like the one thing of technology you would see in the night in like a modern era thing is this girl uses like a clamshell almost cell phone, but she's browsing the web like it's like it's a smartphone on it, but it clearly looks like just like almost like a makeup kit phone thing. It's weird.
I know they did phones like that could do something like that, but it wasn't that great. It was like really shitty.
Yeah.
I remember having a flip phone like trying to do anything like on the internet was like impossible. You could do it, but it was just really really annoying.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch both of those. I actually bought Ex Machina.
Really?
Yeah, it was on sale at Best Buy for like $16 or something like that on Blu-ray.
That's awesome. Yeah, I watched it the first time, and it was like 5:00 in the morning. I was like, that's weird and crazy. And then like I showed my friend it, and she thought it was awesome. And then just thinking about it again, I'm like, I really probably would actually want to buy that movie, just because it's, you know, it's not. I wouldn't say it's one of those movies I'd want to watch like whenever I'm like in a good mood or whatever, because that would really kind of bring me down. But at the same time, just such an intriguing movie in ways. And I think part of it is because Reddit kind of helped to do that, because I think I browsed Reddit afterwards and then noticed some like theories about stuff that went on in the movie, and I'm just like, you know what? That probably did happen. And I'm just like, I replayed it that second time and just wanted to look at all the different like context clues that the director may have left in there, that I'm like, I'm pretty sure he left that in there for that purpose.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Does a movie like Reddit ever kind of done that to you in a way?
I don't want to say it's as in depth as that, but there are some movies that people have talked about, like with theory stuff or like or just analysis stuff that sounded really cool. Anyone to go check it out? The first movie that comes to mind though is Dread, but people didn't do too many analysis stuff. They were just like, this movie's great, you should go see it.
Yeah.
I remember I wouldn't have saw it otherwise. I was like, oh, people said it was good, I'll check it out. But I know there's more than that though. Drive is probably another one.
Drive is one I want to see. I feel like Ex Machina, It Follows, and Drive are in this collection of movies that they're smaller budget movies, but they're movies everyone must see in ways, because they're just so interesting. And I know that for me working at a movie theater, I've never seen these movies. Never went to theaters, at my theater at least, so I never got to see them at all. But yeah, I know they're such big movies now. I mean, you know, you hear things that have inspired them. Didn't Hotline Miami, wasn't that inspired by Drive in some ways?
I don't know. I can't remember if the guy ever came out and said yeah, but I mean from just the music's the big one. That type of, I guess, like hyper violence type of thing that happens. Yeah, I could definitely see it. Especially, well, wow, yeah. There's actually one part in Drive I'm now remembering that would be pretty. If you ever played Hotline Miami, you saw this like one specific shot, you're like, oh, that's Hotline Miami.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it just spoiler wise, because it happens like close to the end of the movie, but it's once you see it, you're like, oh, whoa, okay.
I'm really thinking about watching that sometime soon.
It's I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Oh, it was just it was it's a slower burn type of movie.
And one thing I like that seems to be like a theme in these like these indie movies, I would call them, is that they all have this like except for Ex Machina, because Ex Machina, you know, is a futuristic kind of science fiction story, but you know, it follows and Drive, and I feel like there's a third one I'm missing, but they all feel like they have this kind of 90s vibe to them, like these 90s colors. This, I guess 80s 90s kind of have this similar look to them, I would say, where it's got this kind of like almost pink hue to things in the movies, this pink and blue kind of look to things, and it's got that that synthetic music to it. Like like both of those have that, and just it sounds really neat. Like their soundtracks could almost be like, I listened to them like when driving in my car recently, just because I bought all three of those albums because they're just really good.
It's like basically like electro synth.
Yeah.
Sometimes kind of fast, sometimes slow. It's funny that you say that it makes you think of like 80s 90s style like thing, because it's, if you look at like a lot of stuff that's come out of that, like especially music, and one game that comes to mind is that Far Cry Blood Dragon, like stuff like that, just that type of kind of like 90s energy towards an 80s look.
Yeah.
It's just funny. It's just cool that you pick up on that. Because I mean, one person was when it comes to It Follows soundtrack, we're talking about how like that soundtrack reminded them of the first Terminator, like music, not the theme, but there's like certain like chase sequences in the movie that sound like really synthy, like heavy, like dark.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, it was, and I was watching it recently, like, oh yeah, I can definitely hear that.
Yeah, one thing I could say that's really good about this era of movies and games is it's definitely that they feel like they have their own. They're not trying to stick to one particular style. They're not all of them are just dark and gritty and this kind of grayscale look or anything ridiculous. It's like we have the Aliens game that has the 80s vibe to it. The 80s computers and everything like that. And then you've got these games like Hotline Miami that's got this 80s 90s vibe to it, you know. I mean, jump back to it. I said 80s for like Aliens. That was like 70s or 60s?
78, 79.
Yeah, 78, yeah. So like mid 70s, early 80s look to it, and it's like they all have their own distinct looks to them, and that's what's really cool. You know, I mean, we can look at something like that and say Aliens is futuristic. Same time, look at, you know, another futuristic thing and say that's like this, like Blade Runner. Blade Runner's got its own futuristic style or whatever.
Do you ever? This is gonna go so left far field here, but do you remember that movie Soldier with Kurt Russell?
I think I actually watched. Yes, is that the one with?
I know who you're talking about, Jason Scott Lee.
Yes, okay, I do remember that one.
And where like it's essentially Halo with like with how he's trained.
Yes, yeah.
But the only difference is that he's not genetically there. Guys are. He's just like from birth deal. So it's kind of like a mix of it. But the guy who wrote that movie wanted to be able to say that movie happened in Blade Runner's universe. So a lot of the terminology and like technology they use, they say in the movie, because he wanted it to take place in that same universe.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was weird. I remember reading that, going, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, I think I watched that like 2 or 3 times when I was little, because it was just like, it seemed like a really cool movie, and I think that was just one of those things that back in the day when Kurt Russell was really big, we'd watch those his movies and stuff.
It's okay. It's worth a rewatch at least once, but it's not that great.
Did I ever tell you I've never watched Escape from New York, but I've seen Escape from LA like a billion times. It's so weird, and it's like people say that Escape from LA is terrible, but I'm like, oh, like when I watched it when I was like, you know, maybe 9 or 10, I was like, that movie's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, everyone says it's nothing compared to Escape from New York, so I have to see that one day. It's gonna be that, and maybe watching Soldier again. It's gonna be added to my list of things I need to do.
Kurt Russell double feature.
Yeah. But did you ever did you realize Bruce Campbell was actually part of that movie?
Which one?
Escape from L.A.
Yeah, he is. He's the plastic surgeon guy.
Yeah, but if you look at the plastic surgeon, you really can't tell that's him, and that was the funny thing.
He's so like Botoxed up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Escape from New York is awesome.
Is it?
I don't jump on the whole thing about Escape from LA is not as good, but I still liked it. It's got a lot of cool moments.
I mean, thinking back to it, there are some cheesy parts, like the fact that he, like, there's a surfing moment,
surf scene, yeah,
and the basketball game.
The basketball game's awesome.
Yeah,
I heard that he actually made that shot.
Yeah,
I heard, yeah. Funny enough, remember in that scene, Alien
Resurrection, yeah, where Sigourney Weaver like does the shot behind her back.
Yeah,
that one's pretty cool too.
Did you ever watch the like the actual cut of that, like where they kept like it was just behind the scenes thing?
No,
it actually right when she makes the shot, it cuts because Ron Perlman ruined the shot because he just went like, "Did you see that?" Like he was freaked out. So if you look at his character, he's actually like in mid spin to turn towards the camera as they cut away from the scene.
That's awesome.
Because he was freaking out about it.
Oh, spiders! Like, Ron Perlman's cool, just whatever movie he's in.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the only show that he's not, like, the coolest guy in is, like, Sons of Anarchy, and it's because I kind of hate him for that, because he's a jerk in it.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's pretty much the bad guy in it, for the most part. But, you know, especially, like, the last kind of season he's in, like, you feel kind of actually sympathetic for him, so, you know. But just everything he's in is awesome. It's gonna suck when he retires from acting.
Yeah.
Does he have a big part in Drive, too? Because I know...
Yeah, him, I guess you could say he's one of the antagonists of the movie, I guess you could say. But he's in a good bit of it.
I think he's one of those, like, B actors that, like... Or not B actors, I wouldn't call him a B actor, but I would call him one of those actors that he could be in a movie, and I'll watch it just because he's in the movie. It doesn't matter about the plot.
There's a very short list of actors like that.
That's kind of like... for most people, it's like, whenever they come to see movies, they're like, I want to see the Tom Cruise movie, you know? And I'm like, you mean, like, this movie? Like, this movie that he's in? But, like, you know, it's like, yeah, the Tom Cruise movie. I'm like, no, it's like Mission Impossible, you know? Yeah. It's got a plot and a story. It's not just the Tom Cruise show where he's just going to sing and dance and do whatever, you know?
Run really interesting.
I picked up 2, like, limited edition hard case movies from Target the other day, and they were it was Minority Report and not The Day the Earth Stood Still. It was
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yes, thank you. And it was I was just looking at both of them, and you know, Tom Cruise is such a like center focal point in that, like, on the cover of it. It's just like, this is Tom Cruise plus science fiction. This is Tom Cruise versus aliens, you know. It's like, that's might as well how they were advertising it to me, and I'm just like, you know, like, they're cool, but I feel like once these movies become like a big thing on their own, you don't necessarily have to market them directly from the big $50 million actor that's really in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, you can just, you know, especially if people are buying these movies nowadays as like a collector thing. I think that, you know, the Marriott piece should be kind of, or the piece should look more like, you know, a big action scene from the movie or something like that. Like the moment where he's like, I can't remember what was going on, but he's like spinning that crazy looking gun, Minority Report.
That, like a gravity type gun or whatever. Or that force thing or like yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah,
I mean, they could just do a splash of that, or the scene where the cars are coming down this random, like, waterfall-looking thing.
Oh, he's, like, in a place where the cars are being assembled.
Yeah, that was always pretty cool, too. I mean, I got one from, like, Best Buy, you know, a while back, and you saw that one. It was The Fifth Element. Mm. And that one's awesome just because it's, like, a drawing of Mila Jovovich's character as the police cars come up. And so they're the spotlights are on her and everything. I was like, and that's just like a great piece, great moment to that movie.
Yeah, I need to watch that movie. It's been a while. I used to watch it a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, just thinking about it, I was thinking. I realized my mom was really into science fiction back when I was little. Because I mean, you know, she was the one that like introduced me to Soldier and Star Wars and Escape from L.A. and just all these movies that I watched back then, and now I'm like, oh, these are amazing movies, even though I only saw them when I was little.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember when I was going back and just watching. Like I had a spree where I watched a bunch of movies that came out like along that time, and just like I remember like pretty much at the end of it going like all these movies were like science fiction movies, and they were all really good.
Yeah, we don't get that as much these days.
Mm. Well, I mean, like it's just like thinking about the just the way it looked, like the way like they don't have movies that look like that anymore because I mean a lot of them use more like it's because what you're seeing isn't like real, so like it's kind of like, oh, I'm watching a movie because that's, you know, I know that doesn't exist and it doesn't look like it exists either. And in those movies it was like, well, that's real in front of them, they're using it. I guess the disconnect wasn't as large, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of I feel that we use a lot more, you know, everything's CGI'd. You know, in the last 15 years, we've just become really dependent on CGI. And, you know, back in the 90s, everything was prosthetics and, you know, fake, but animatronic kind of things that really worked and made the movies feel lively. And then nowadays, it's just things that are CGI just throw us out of the movie, you know?
I mean, there are some movies that do a really good job with it. Or they do really well at showing that it's not. That, I mean, there are some movies that can like the first Mummy movie.
Yeah,
you can watch that and be like, oh, that was good.
Oh yeah,
that all looked decent, and then you can watch. You can watch the second one and see the Rock and be like, oh, that's CGI.
Yeah, the Rock is kind of weird.
That's kind of taking me out of it.
Oh man, you know, I think that's one of the few movies where like you get to see someone like be a victim of like a monster movie because he's pretty much like nearsighted in that movie. For him that one guy that loses his glasses, that was pretty much how I would feel in like a horror movie if I lost my glasses or I was broken, because I'm just like so blind that way. It's like, oh, I can't see anything, and just run directly into the monster.
Oh man, I forgot all about that part. That sucks.
Yeah, he's like, my glasses. Oh. And then I think the creature steals his eyes, and then he's like, oh, these are sucky eyes. I can't go find someone else's.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
I just thought about that. That's awful.
And then there's the guy that's completely just like changes sides every time.
Oh, Benny.
Benny.
Yeah.
He pulls out his necklace of like 15 religions. He's like, which one do I pray to this time?
I forgot about that. Hey man, it worked though.
Yeah. It's like, oh, all right.
Oh,
you're on my side. That was the thing. Yeah, that was what he used.
Oh man, I can't believe that shit.
Nope.
I still like that movie a lot though.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to. You know, like he hasn't been in any major movies in a long time. What's his name? Brendan Fraser. I think I googled him recently, and there's a thing where it was just like people that didn't age very well over time, and Brendan Fraser's one of them.
It's like to be like to know you're on one of those lists. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was like one of those clickbait kind of things, but
yeah, I know. But I mean, they're not usually not wrong.
Yeah,
or when it comes to those types of lists,
it gets kind of creepy when you think about certain people that just haven't aged at all, and you're just like, does that mean they're just full of plastic surgery, or they just take care of their bodies really well?
Some people are just like good genetics, taking care of yourself. Like, yeah. Just like, look at Paul Rudd. He's 47.
That's true.
He's the same age Robert Downey Jr. was when he did Iron Man.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. And Paul Rudd looks 10 years younger than Robert Downey Jr.
For real. Some people point out that Ant-Man's like plot is pretty much the first Iron Man movie. I mean, do you feel that way, or? I mean, I guess it is kind of in some ways, but still, I just enjoyed it a lot for particular reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things you can say are similar, but I wouldn't say like structure-wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also got the villain that's trying to steal the technology for the suit, and then he fights Ant-Man, who is in a much more like downgraded version of the suit he's fighting in, which is like this super advanced thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but you could say that about, I mean, every first hero Marvel movie, like Captain America fought Red Skull, and they were basically he was just the opposite of what he was.
Yeah.
And for Thor, he fought Loki, who was the opposite.
That's true.
And then you could say the same thing about, what was the other one? Oh, Incredible Hulk. He just fights another Hulk.
Yeah, they're always fighting some pretty equal.
It's all, the
enemies.
first movie is like usually just the opposite of what they can do, or just the parallel. I should say parallel.
Well, I mean, at least in the comics, the Winter Soldier was pretty much what Captain America was afterwards. You know,
I mean, it's just I don't know. I liked Ant-Man a lot, actually.
Oh, I really liked it. I have no complaints about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't think anyone's trying to fight me on it, but I still say that it's better than like Avengers 2.
Yeah.
And I kind of almost want to kind of write down write down maybe like an article or something like that of like reasons why I think Ant-Man is a better movie than Avengers 2. I mean, there's just multiple reasons why, because I just think that Avengers 2 has a lot going on to it, but nothing really advances too much. And I think also what makes it a good thing is just that it's, at least in comparison to Avengers 1 with Avengers 2, Avengers 1, has been building to this moment, for like 3 or 4 movies. So those movies are almost included into it. Ultron doesn't even start until that movie, so you don't even really understand this villain. So the villain only has a limited amount of time to really to get to know him, which makes it kind of harder to understand him as well.
Yeah. I mean,
but I did like Ultron himself. I thought he was a cool villain.
Yeah. I know there was a lot like that was cut from it.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are saying they want to kind of reserve their final judgment and hopefully they release like an extended cut, because they were talking about like 25, 30 minutes had to be cut from the movie.
But then I was hearing some arguments that they're not going to do that.
If they don't do that and just release it how it is, I'll still not like it that much.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, with all the stuff that I have my issues with it, even if they added the extra stuff and it made certain scenes, even if the movie flowed better, I still would have been like, I hate that they did that, I hate that I did that. There's some things I did really like about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just some things I was I don't really care for that too much.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I did like about it in comparison to other blockbuster movies referring to Transformers is that I'm glad that, like, they weren't xenophobic with things in the movie. Like, if it's an artificial intelligence, we kind of need to treat it like it's pretty much it's human, but not in ways. Mm-hmm. And, with, like, the Transformers movies, they constantly just remind you, oh, it's a machine. It's a machine. It doesn't matter. Like, it's okay that these machines get killed, They don't have any feelings. They don't care. They don't have a soul. Mm-hmm. That sucks for them, But, with Ultron, he was a person. Like, he felt like he was, a legitimate, villain who had issues and, things. I like that there's that moment in the movie where he gets upset with that guy when he mentions Tony Stark, and the dude just accidentally rips off that dude's arm. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just got over emotional there, and that made him feel like a villain and a character, And that was one thing I thought was going to be a problem with Avengers: Age of Ultron, was that Ultron, being a robot, people are just not going to connect with it. And I think that they did a good job on trying to connect you with him as a villain, Mm-hmm. I actually felt pretty bad and almost felt like they were going to... The ending scene of that movie was going to be almost kind of almost a moment of a twist, to be like that the Avengers were in some way a villain for that final scene. I'm not going to like describe what it is, but if you kind of remember what happens with that, you kind of get it. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I feel like people are pretty similar similar thoughts with that movie. Everyone feels the same about Avengers. I feel like I'm the only person that feels, or not the only person, but I feel like there are a few others, but I feel like I'm the minority on the opinion on Jurassic World, Yeah. Because I've said that Jurassic World's okay. I don't think it was that great, and it feels like it follows through a lot of like the tropes of some big summer blockbuster that makes it. I feel like it kind of deflates it for me. Yeah. and other people are just like, oh, it's so amazing, you know, and then it doesn't matter that those things are in it.
Well, I mean, it was I really wanted to like it, but I mean, at first I was on board. I was pretty on. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it just kind of, I guess, just lost its. It just kept losing momentum and losing like.
I mean, it's still going strong. It's the biggest selling movie of the year at this point. I think.
Yeah, I think this year definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still some like parts I would go, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, there are definitely parts that I like about the movie.
Yeah.
It's just like
overall,
like I actually like the other movies better, like the other Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of upsets me that like people think this one's great and then the other two are like terrible, but I'm like, the other two were like decent and this one's like either at the same level of like, you know, plot holes and stuff or below it, you know, but people like this one so much because it just references so much to Jurassic Park. And that's kind of what kind of bothers me about these movies is where they're like, if we shove a bunch of references to like the old movie, people will just like be happy about this movie and think it's the best movie ever, you know. I mean, I like references to movies just as much as anyone, or references to the past part of the series, but I think that you can't make a movie series out of that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, a lot of the callbacks in the movie were subtle, but the problem was there was just too many.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. They just like after a while it was like they just went. It's almost like for a lot of scenes there was like what was said in the first one and how can we make it somewhat similar.
Yeah. I mean, I like some of the allusions to it, like the gyrospheres. I like the gyrospheres being a, you know, almost a copy of that moment with the T-Rex where it comes in. Yeah. You know, that was a cool. You know, it felt like that, but then just some other scenes were just weird. You know.
Mm-hmm. Funny enough, all the product placement in the movie that doesn't bother me. Yeah, I did not. Yeah, it's like I'm like it's a theme park. If you've ever been to any theme park, it's exactly like that.
Well, I liked it. I liked the very beginning of the movie for sure, where they kind of, you know, are just talking about the fact that, you know, these companies are kind of like marketing everything these days, where it's like, oh, you know, pretty soon this, you know, these big companies are going to start buying stock into these, you know, into the park, and probably it'll be Verizon presents the, you know, T-Rex or something like that, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, or, you know,
that was a funny scene.
Yeah, and I felt like with that part, I was like, you know, they're gonna. I like where this movie's, you know, thinking, and then like the rest of the movie kind of tells you something else, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm still like, out of all the movies I've seen this year, I'd probably say Mad Max was the best one.
Mad Max, dude, that was awesome. I mean, I think I've watched it I've only watched it twice, but I feel like I could watch it like 3 or 4 more times just because it was so good. And it's just, you know, I knew where the movie was going to go. I think when we first saw the trailers for it, and then you told me that the majority of the movie doesn't even it always takes place on those cars.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like the movie probably will pretty much immediately put you on that big chase scene in the very beginning of it. And we're kind of right, but I mean, it's like, it was just great no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
It told you so much. There's so much craziness to it. And one thing I really like about that movie is just that it shows you things that you don't understand, and you may never understand them, but you want to know so much more about them.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're going to give it to you, maybe a good or bad thing, you know? I guess maybe that's how people feel about Star Wars, where it's like, you know, you see all these crazy aliens and crazy races. You want to know about all of them, but when you do finally know about them, like in the prequels, suddenly it's like, well, I don't want it. I hate this. You know, this is terrible. You know, I mean, with Mad Max, it's like, who are what started with these war boys, and what started with this and everything, you know? Yeah. I think the comic books do that as well, where it was like, they kind of explain it, but I felt like the explanation for it wasn't as good as, like, you know, just not knowing what they were like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out on, I think October is when they said it's going to come out.
It's a good time for it.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people dressed up as Mad Max characters at Comic-Con.
Oh, dude. I'm sure they had, like, droves of guys.
Yeah.
Who were just ready.
I just want to make that, like a version of that mask and just constantly, like, just at the, like, Pensacon or Paracon, whichever one I go to next, and just have that metal faceplate and just constantly just take, like, a nail file and just constantly scratch my, like, that piece the whole time.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that game, too.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I think people are hoping that rival system comes back.
God, that'd be awesome.
That would be really cool.
That'd be really cool.
I mean, it would work especially well with that one. You know, you run into, like, a high-level war boy or something like that, and then you get, like, beat up by him or whatever, come back around, and he's been, like, elevated or whatever, you know. He's got, like, maybe, like, some chrome spray on his face now or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
The only thing I'm bummed about is that after watching Fury Road and liking it so much, it's going to suck not to see Tom Hardy or hear Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
That would be like...
That's true.
But I mean, I can get over it.
But I mean, knowing you, I mean, you grew up on the Mel Gibson ones, so...
Yeah.
I mean, you're used to Max sounding different.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that he didn't really... It's because he didn't really speak a lot in the other movies. Except for really the first one. And, well, I guess some of the third one, too. But you don't hear him too much compared to, like, Tom Hardy. He spoke a lot more than he usually does, I think, in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, it's... I mean, I was happy. Like, it was so funny, like, whenever they were talking about Mad Max, the new one, like, on the internet a few years ago, when Tom Hardy was cast, and people were just... It was surprising how many people reacted pretty much how I did, like, oh, no, it's not Mel Gibson, that sucks. Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess he's pretty good, too. It was like they didn't cast as anybody.
I kind of wish he just stuck around for the Suicide Squad movie.
I forgot that he was going to be in that.
Yeah, I forgot too, and then they brought up who he was supposed to be. This, you know, he's supposed to be the non-villain military guy, Flag.
Who like leads the group or whatever.
Yeah, and you don't really see him that much in the Comic-Con trailer at all. And I feel like maybe they're pushing back his role now that he's not Tom Hardy, and now that they're using another character that doesn't look like they're gonna. That he's a main character at all. He looks like he's like a background character now almost.
Yeah, I guarantee that Tom Hardy would have been in that trailer if he was still been casted.
Oh, definitely.
Because I mean, like, yeah, Will Smith's in the movie, but Tom Hardy, I would say Tom Hardy's a bigger star at this point than Will Smith, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me, but just look at the last movie Will Smith did was like, what, 2-3 years ago? It was After Earth.
I really hope that he doesn't like bomb that movie, you know, because
I'm sure he won't. He's still, I mean, I think he's a good actor. He just hasn't really had a movie.
But when you watch the trailer, like, everyone feels like they're in character in the movie, except for the one moment where you see Deadshot, who's played by Will Smith, and he goes, "What are we on? Some kind of Suicide Squad?" And I'm just like, what? Like, it's like the Cinema Sins, you know, moment in it where it's like, roll credits, you know, like, oh, you hit the title line, there we go, end of the movie. And it's like, I mean, I guess maybe I needed to see more of him. I see there is a cool moment of him later on in it where he's got the mask on, the Deadshot mask and the Deadshot lens, and he's grappling down from like a building, and that was really cool. And Deadshot's actually supposed to be like a big character in the Suicide Squad story. If you look at the comic books that I have right now, it's nothing but him and Harley Quinn, their relationship throughout most of the movie. So it's very weird to see that kind of downplayed in the Suicide Squad trailer. I mean, it seems like... But for that trailer, it just seems like it's all kinds of different crazy things in it that are going on. But I think the most important thing that, you know, you take away from any of that Suicide Squad trailer is, like, it really focuses on Joker and Harley Quinn in it. And that's actually, you know, that movie and Batman versus Superman, it feels like, what I like about those trailers is it feels like there's so much more to it, similar to Mad Max, that I'm really gonna understand, you know? I mean, I completely missed that Robin suit that first time they showed it. And when I saw it, I was like, that's awesome. You know, I think that's, you know, having so much mythology go into the story is what's going to make this one great. I think almost Marvel is just now catching up to that idea too, because with all the Marvel movies, none of them really had too much back history to them. I mean, Tony Stark just became Tony Stark in the first Iron Man. Thor, I guess he was Thor, but he really didn't become legitimate Thor until the first Thor movie. Now, with the Ant-Man movie, I mean, you had Hank Pym, and he was Ant-Man before this, and going on these adventures to stop, Hydra and stuff beforehand. Mm-hmm. And granted, you're coming in as Scott Lang, and he's seeing all this stuff for the first time, so you have your new character, but you also have this character with all the backstory and and that's kind of how comics are. Like, especially when you're a new guy reading comic books, you see everything for the first time, but nothing is just starting up in this world. Everything's been going and will go on after you stop reading, and that's what's one of the great things about it.
Yeah, it's always like you see it all the time. Like, it's I call that person that's what it is. It's the audience surrogate character. Mm-hmm. It's like with Doctor Who, Rose.
Yeah.
Audience surrogate. Like it's like Fury, that movie that just came out that mm-hmm. David Ayer, guy who's doing Suicide Squad now.
Yeah.
I mean the Logan Lerman's character, audience surrogate. Like, it's just like
I think so much. The one that is the biggest one of that is the new agent in Hellboy.
Yeah.
The first time you see him, I feel like he is the most immediate one that just is pretty much only there to introduce you to the world,
to anchor us to them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's why they kind of almost he's just gone from the second movie completely.
You know what's funny about the second movie?
What's that?
I've only ever saw it that one time we watched it.
Yeah.
I have never seen it since then, but I liked it. I would like to watch it again. I just never watched it the first time ever since then. I watched the first one 100 times.
That movie is interesting just because it's such... It has more of a Men in Black feel in that movie than the other Hellboy does, because...
I can see why, yeah.
When you're, they have moments in the movie where they're looking for, they're trying to find the villain in the story, and then they use, magnifying glasses, and they realize that people on the street are actually, these fairy tale creatures, one of them's a fairy, one of them's an ogre, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it's just that felt like Men in Black more than it did Hellboy. Hellboy had this looking back at it, it had more of a Lovecraftian feeling that first time around.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, one felt more like private investigator.
Yeah,
not such a big scale thing. I mean, it is a big scale thing, but not that big. And the other one just seemed. I can see what you're saying.
I guess the second one felt more action hero kind of in that way.
Yeah,
but they're both good. I like them both.
I do too. Yeah, I need to watch the second one again because like I said, I only saw it once. I do remember liking the first one more, mm-hmm. but the second one I had some pretty cool parts.
I hope they do a third one. I know Ron Perlman's really pushing for it, and it's still up in the air right now, but I'd like for them to take the time to do it.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was your Del Toro or somebody else kind of shot down. People were talking about, you should do a Kickstarter or something like that for it, but one came out and said, look, it's a little too, we could do a Kickstarter and people would, put money into it, but it would just be nothing compared to what we'd actually need.
Yeah. Well, and that's, the whole Kickstarter thing is kind of blown up, and I think people are kind of tired of those in some way because it's kind of ruined by these big companies that try to go, we'll fund this small company to do a Kickstarter, and then when they get all this money for the Kickstarter, then we'll help fund them, but we'll take all their money. Mm-hmm. It sounds like just so many companies are using and abusing this method of it. It's starting to get old and tiring. People gave a lot of flack to Sony about it, or Sony and the people of Shimu, for doing that. But at the same time, at least with them, what makes sense is that they're trying to figure out if there's really a fan base or really a buy rate for Shenmue. 'Cause Shenmue's like
who talks about it.
Yeah, who talks
besides
about
people on the internet.
Yeah, so I mean, that one would be really up in the air. I don't know how big that series is for people. I personally have never played any of those games, but I know, I've heard people talk about them. So I mean, I don't, so I understand that one, but for these other companies to just, push out another company and say, hey, we'll support you if you start this Kickstarter, but we get all the money for it. I think that's just really dirty and terrible.
Well, I mean, like, if you think about it like this...
I mean, this is supposed to be, like, for the small independent people that have no one that's going to help them fund for it.
That is true. The thing with the whole Shenmue thing, like, it's one of those things to me where it's like, Sony's like, yeah, we'll be, how do we know this is going to be popular? Plus you have all the other people who are willing to put money into it, but are kind of like, we don't see the interest. Kickstarter happens, yada, yada, yada. Okay, there is some people who do this, will put money into it. But I mean, yeah, they put money towards it, but at the same time, they got themselves copies. So it's like that money would have been spent either way. Mm-hmm. But there are those donations that are way more than the copy of a game would be. So I mean, it can kind of go either way.
Yeah.
You have people who would drop 1,000, but I mean, you could say those people, like, sure, they could spend their money on better things, like, oh, I played Shenmue 1 and 2, I loved it, it was a huge part of my childhood, or I enjoyed it so much that it makes me want to, this is how much I appreciate what you brought to me, type of thing. But I don't know. There are some things where I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. But I'd say even with, bigger stuff, it's just like, it all comes down to a point like, well, do the people who gives a shit. So this is like a visual confirmation. Oh, all these people they would love to see it. So obviously I'm doing something, but
yeah, definitely.
But there are a lot of examples on both sides, really.
What was your reaction to everything that went on with E3's like Sony press conference? Because it was so crazy for them to be like, here's Shenmue and here's Final Fantasy VII, and wasn't there a third one? Like a third thing that they were like... Last Guardian, yeah. It's just like, here's everything you really wanted these last couple years, and we're giving it to you all in this one conference. Yeah. And I think people were just like, I don't care whatever Microsoft and Nintendo did. You guys own me now, or something.
It was like... I was talking about this recently with... I can't remember who it was, but I was saying how this E3... has been the E3 that people have wanted like the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
It's like we've always talked about, oh, we want this and we want this and we want this, and this year all those things happened.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Shenmue 3, Final Fantasy 7, fucking Battlefront, Last Guardian. It was pretty stupid how many things people like. The only thing that could have made it better is if Half-Life had got announced, because that would have been like, people were like, well, that's it. I mean, they've just checked off everything.
You know what? How they should have started it is, well, guys, we've been reading your online petitions at change.org, and we kind of realized you guys really want these things, so we're gonna go ahead and fund them for you.
Not to mention, coming off the heels of Fallout 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same year.
It's going to be a big fall. I can't wait to play Fallout 4. I feel like it's kind of transitioning from the way the older games were, from like 1 and 2, just the feel of it, to like almost like a BioWare kind of RPG now. Because the way they market it, you have, a main character that, has history, and he, he has all this dialogue and stuff, and I'm like, this feels kind of like he's like the new shepherd of this story. And then you also, they are marketing, oh, you have all these companions, and they're all romanceable and stuff like that. I'm like, this is starting to sound like a BioWare RPG now.
And plus the fact that it's all like it's not on a wheel per se, but it's on a more simplified thing, and that's that, and the two things that give me the biggest worry about Fallout is the dialogue, how they're handling that, which it could be fine. I could just be worried about it. But the other one is I don't know whether or not they're going with I know they're going with the leveling system where you distribute points and stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't know, like the way they were talking about it, it sounded more like Skyrim, where like not like the more you use something, but like just instead of like say with lock picking in Fallout 3 in New Vegas, you go 25, 50, 75, and 100 with what safes you could open. So say if this safe was an easy one, at 25 I can open it.
Yeah.
Or just like stuff like that, tiers. But instead of putting points in, it would just be tiers, like 5 tiers instead of going 25 to 100. So I mean, like I'm hoping it'll work, and it probably will. I mean, I know I'm gonna enjoy it, but I'm just a little bit worried.
Yeah, I mean, it just also feels like the characters are they feel like they're with the old Fallout game. I feel like you could have just went around and killed every one of the characters in the story, and you could just end up being a mass murderer, and that just be the way we end the story. But I feel like with this game, I feel like the characters are trying to be important, and it feels like there's going to be this really complex story to it. Like, I feel like Fallout's going to be more story focused than it was in the past. Like, in the ways that BioWare games are more focused in that storyline, rather than with Fallout. I feel like it's more like in the context of things.
Well, I mean, like in Fallout 3, you couldn't kill certain people. They just wouldn't allow you to do it.
There were certain people you couldn't kill?
Yeah, like they would just say they'd gone unconscious, like they'd stayed, like they'd in oblivion. And I don't like that, just because it lets me know that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing.
Right.
Where in Fallout 1, if you killed anybody, and you just kind of pretty much have to deal with it. But and Bethesda used to do that with Morrowind. Like if you kill a story character, it would say something along the lines of like the ancient lines have been severed, like it's an alternate timeline type of deal.
Oh, okay.
And then say that you can't complete the main story anymore. And then New Vegas, there was only one character who was unkillable, and he made sense that he couldn't be killed because it was just a robot who would transfer his AI to another robot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but otherwise everybody in the game was killed, and it just kind of closed off that storyline for the rest of the game. Which I mean, is if you're role playing, that's great. So I don't like Essentials, but I mean I understand why they want to do it, but in a game like that, it feels limiting.
Did you hear that the Old Republic 2 had a update recently?
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
I didn't see I know there was that big expand, or it was like expansion or something like that, but I didn't read about the update.
Oh, there's an expansion to Sith Lords?
Oh, my bad. I'm so dumb. You're talking about KOTOR 2.
Yeah, KOTOR 2. Did I say the Old Republic? I said the Old Republic. I meant Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, I heard,
I wish their names weren't as similar.
Yeah. No, I heard they added in, what did it add? Like, added like some better graphic options for certain computers.
That's cool.
Or something. What did you hear about it?
Oh, I just heard there was an update. I didn't know anything else about it. But, like, who is the people that make that? I forget their name. Obsidian. It's like, here's the real question to ponder on is, what would happen if Obsidian had enough time to make their video games and didn't have actual mandates to these things? They'd actually been like really crazy, amazing games, wouldn't you say? It's like New Vegas, cut short a little bit. Sith Lords, cut and like half the story's done. But like they all seem like they're really good games. Like they would have been really good games, like with the potential they had, but it's just they're just half finished.
Yeah, I replayed KOTOR 2 and then 1 recently. Well, within the last year, and I played KOTOR 1. I still love the first Knights of the Republic. I've played it 10 times over by now.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of those games that I played and just immediately started over. That was my game like that.
Yeah, I remember watching you and Nathan play it. But
it's so funny for us to have done that, and if we're talking about that, the only moment I remember of it is me being like a dick to Nathan and just starting the cutscene that's the big revelation of the story, so he has to watch it 5 seconds delayed from what I'm watching.
Oh,
like it's so cool, Nathan.
I remember that.
It's so amazing to watch. Who Revan is. He's like, oh, you suck, dude.
That was so awesome.
I don't know if I did that. I'm pretty sure I did that intentionally, but I just can't remember. I'd like to think I did that accidental, but I don't know. It was funny.
No.
Regardless.
This game was so great. But then whenever I was... Like, KOTOR 2 is not as... I feel like the first game's easily, like, digestible, like, enjoyable.
Yeah.
The second game, like, I almost, like, RP in a sense, because the dialogue is more extensive, so I can actually kind of tailor my playthrough to how I want to be. But it's just, like, they just bring up so much stuff that's so interesting, and it's just hard for me to say no to playing KOTOR 2 again over 1, even though I love 1, and 1's good. It's just that 2 just feels so much more interesting.
This could be, like, blasphemy to most people that are big on Star Wars, but I kind of would hope that J.J. Abrams played a lot of KOTOR, you know, when he was doing the new trilogy, because that would be cool, you know, just for him, just some of the elements that were used in that story would just be really good, you know.
Yeah.
You heard about the thing from Comic-Con with that, right? Where they took all of Hall H and they had this big concert outside with like lightsabers and stuff.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they had a small panel for Star Wars, and then they're like, and now we're gonna take you to this this concert, and you're all invited to go. And it was like someplace outside of Hall H, and it was gonna. This is where they were playing all like nothing but all the Star Wars music. I guess isn't it George William Harrison or something?
John Williams.
John Williams does like all the music for it, and I guess they just did a big concert of his, and they handed out everyone these like lightsabers that they could use, and they're like basically like the glow sticks at the time. So that was all of Comic-Con.
That's pretty cool.
And the funny thing is that Kevin Smith had he's always been known to have Hall H after like all the major panels. And so he would kind of that would be his way of, you know, getting people to stay for his kind of comedy and his panel stuff. But because Hall H before that had just took everybody over there and everyone was going to see the Star Wars stuff, his like Hall H was like 3 times as empty as it normally is. So he had like, so he was really bummed about it when he had just like 15 to like maybe 2,500 people, or not 2,500, but 250 people in a room that normally has got like maybe 1,500 people.
Damn.
And so he was just kind of like, oh, this is a bummer. But, you know, I guess it turned out really good because he was talking about all his other movies, and it seemed like some of the people that were willing to stay were really big fans of his.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to see Mallrats whenever that comes out.
I think it's what it's called, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird for that title, and I hope it feels similar to the old Mallrats movies. I mean, I don't know, because he's gotten some weird movies in recent times with like Tusk and everything, and it feels like he wants to make these really niche movies nowadays. But I mean, it could still be good. I think.
Yeah.
I liked Clerks 2. Clerks 2 was good.
Oh yeah. I'll be definitely willing to check it out.
Yeah.
God, I had something I wanted to say about that we were just talking about, like the whole Hall H and
Hall H thing, yeah.
Damn.
I'm glad people like Jared Leto now as the Joker. Like, they're kind of cooler with him being the Joker.
Yeah.
Him and Batman, they're both more accepted now. I at first I never couldn't like get those teeth, but you know, when I heard the context of how it could happen with the fact that the teeth, the reason why he's got these like gold teeth are because they're replacements for the teeth that were like broken out from fighting Batman all those years. Mm-hmm. I really like that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I heard that there's rumors going on today that Jenna Malone is going to play Barbara Gordon in Batman vs Superman.
That's cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I'm wondering if she's going to be crippled or not. If you see her, if like, because you know they talk about all this history from like these Batman movies. Would they do that? Because I mean, at the same time, they don't have. These days, DC really wants to have Barbara be like Batgirl on her own. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know if they do that, but at the same time, like they've gone so dark with this Batman movie right now. and everything in Batman's life is really fractured, and like Robin's dead, and I hear Gordon's dead in this one, and everything. So this is gonna be like a really bleak story, So I would imagine it would make so much sense for Barbara to be that way too.
Yeah. That's cool that she's gonna be in it. I like her.
Yeah, I mean that's just a rumor right now, so who knows if that's actually something that's gonna go on.
Yeah.
But it would be cool.
I do remember what I was gonna say now.
Okay.
Actually. I was at the Elbow Room recently.
Yeah.
Which, if you're from Pensacola, Elbow Room is a bar/pizza place. They added the Cantina music from Star Wars.
Really?
On their jukebox, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I was there last time. I walked in. It was like dun 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 dun, dun, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "That's pretty cool." But they must have added it recently.
So, did they do anything cool for PensaCon this year or last year? Because they would be a place I would imagine would go along with the PensaCon theme. And
yeah,
they
didn't do anything last year because I remember we went there last year. This year I don't think so.
Yeah.
At least, but we didn't go by there, so they may.
I mean, they're a little farther away from like that central Pensacola area that downtown Pensacola area that gets affected by PensaCon.
Yeah.
Because everything that's what I love about Pensacola right now. With PensaCon doing all this stuff is because they just everyone goes along with this whole transformation of like downtown for that one time of the year. Where they changed over the airport and they changed over all these like different diners and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking with the Elbow Room, playing that Cantina music. I just imagine someone dressed up as like Han Solo and another person as Greedo, and you see someone like, they do a shootout under the table, and just the music plays, stops for a second, and then starts again.
Kill each other.
It's like, oh, no big deal.
What, anything else on your mind?
Trying to think if there's anything else. More Destiny stuff. It's an annoying game. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I've heard.
Playing, I like the PvE stuff where you're going through like fighting raid, like strike bosses and raid bosses and everything. And now I'm having to play the PvP stuff so I can get some high tier armor, to go further through the PvE stuff, and then I feel like I'm just sticking my hand in a grinder and just to deal with everybody, because it's like I feel like I'm fighting everyone from Halo back in the day, who's like played this game nonstop and knows every reach around and everything, and I'm like, I casually play this game and I'm just getting stomped on.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's all right though, I've played it long enough, and I've got enough gear to where I know some special tricks to, mess around with things. What I do in the game is I have a chest piece that gives me 2 grenades, and all the classes only get 1 grenade at a time. And the Titan class has what would essentially be the sticky grenade. They call it a magnetic grenade. And so because of that, not only do I tier all my armor to regenerate grenades faster, but also I get 2 grenades per regeneration. Yeah. So I'm throwing magnetic grenades at people's heads like all the time, just to kill them.
So you're one of those guys.
One of those guys. At least I feel better about it when someone uses stupid Thorn on me. And I don't know if you've heard about Thorn, but Thorn is this weapon when people shoot at you, it constantly it basically poisons you for a few minutes, so your health is constantly your shields it prevents your shields from regenerating, and everyone uses that revolver, so they constantly are firing at you and your health is not regenerating, and then the other guy comes around and shoots you, so it's just like it's just the most annoying thing.
That does sound annoying.
Yeah, and they said they're gonna update the game, they're gonna nerf that gun, but when they said they're gonna nerf that gun, they also nerfed a lot of stuff in PvE. And that really frustrated me, because it's like we're going to fix the PvP element of your game, but we're also, in effect, going to also damage everything else in the PvE area. So it makes the PvE game like twice as hard to play. So it kind of makes me question like if I want to keep playing this game anymore, because
it sucks.
It does. Yeah, because I'm guilty of this, but like they finally released the first ever like Destiny figure for it. It's from this I think they're like a Chinese toy company called 3A, and they make these ridiculously high tier, like high grade looking items. And one of they're gonna have this first Destiny figure. It's like this tall. It's gonna have all the equipment. It's probably gonna have everything movable. Like if you've ever seen some of their older stuff, they've worked on like Metal Gear Solid franchise stuff, nice. Where they did like a legitimate Metal Gear Rex. That the compartment opens. It's got these big LED lights. It makes noise. It's like insane how big this thing is. This thing's probably like this tall. It's crazy. It's
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's I'll have to show you it sometime. But 3A makes amazing toys. They're super expensive, but they're amazing. And they had the first Destiny figure, and it was a Titan. I'm like, I have to get that regardless, because it's just too cool. I mean, because Destiny, just like the lore of it is amazing, but to play the game, it's like all I can do is complain about things, at times. So it's like I love it for this thing, I hate it for this thing, but somehow I just keep coming back to it because of my love-hate relationship with it. Yeah. So what games have you been platinuming recently? I mean, what can we add to the list of things you've conquered these days? Alien. Finally.
Yeah. I didn't have as much to do as I thought I did, and it ended up being a little easier than I anticipated it being. I did find some workarounds for certain stuff, but it was fun though. It was fun to play through it again.
Do they ever like I guess they don't do it these days in games, but do they ever like give you like stats on like how many times the alien pounced on you?
No.
That sucks.
I wish, because that would have made it a lot easier for certain things, but overall, it's like that was the last trophy I needed for my platinum, was to be killed 100 times by the alien.
Oh, really?
So at the end of my last hour of gameplay was me running up to a wall and hitting the wall like an idiot with my wrench, causing the alien to hone in on me, and me just sprinting right towards it.
Hey, that would be a great action sequence, You're running towards the alien, charging with your your wrench, and then the alien's like dog running at you, like on all fours.
Yeah, and he proceeds to just brutally murder me.
Yeah, exactly.
Which happened a lot.
Did you ever watch Jason X?
Yeah, I watched it here.
Oh, you did? Okay. If you ever watched the trailer for it, there's one specific segment of that movie where they have Jason running up against this guy in a spacesuit, and it's like that guy's gonna do something. It's like there's no way he would even survive like 2 seconds. Thankfully, when they show that part in the movie, immediately the building explodes, and so you're like, okay, well, obviously neither of them was supposed to survive except for Jason.
Yeah, they whenever they're like, you see like them burning up in the atmosphere, you still see the other dude throwing punches.
Oh, that's true.
I was like, damn, dude.
Yeah, that guy was cool. It was just kind of one of those things where I'm like, what's he gonna do? He doesn't even have a weapon. Jason's running up to him with a machete.
It's like the best part in the Avengers, like in the beginning, when the guy's like, okay, now you guys gotta go hold them off. And the other guy's like, but it's the Avengers. Like, dude, are you serious? It's like, what do you want us to do?
I like how he's like, we're not gonna surrender. Okay, we're gonna surrender. They had some really good moments in the beginning of that movie. I wish they'd have kept going with that in some way.
Well, yeah. What are you gonna do?
That's whatever. I guess you want to wrap up now?
Yeah, nothing else coming to mind at the moment.
Yeah, I guess we'll save that for another week.
Yeah, I guess now we're just gonna go and do whatever.
Yep. Cool.
Play games like we usually do.
Exactly. That's what we do. Well, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.